Sometimes you need to factor a trinomial where the leading coefficient a is not nice. It's not 1, and it's not a common factor of the rest of the terms. In those situations, things are going to get a little more complex, but luckily we have multiple techniques for dealing with that situation. In this video, we'll look at the trial and error method, which is also sometimes referred to as guess and check. This is a nice method in that it really looks at what factoring means, which is undoing multiplication of two binomials for finding a trinomial. So remember, the idea is that a trinomial will factor into a product of two binomials. What we've done in the past when we had a nice a, like a equals 1, is we took the last term, 6, and we factored it. In this case, 1 and 6 multiply to 6, 2 and 3 multiply to 6. And then we looked at which one of those factors added up to the middle term. 1 and 6 give us 7, 2 and 3 give us 5. Neither of those give us 13. What's happening here, and why we don't get the 13 here, even though this trinomial will factor, is that the leading term here is not just x squared anymore. It's an x. If I just use x and x, I would get x squared, but I wouldn't get the 2. So what we have to do is think about factors of 2 to put into these locations here and here, in addition to the factors of 6 into the last position. So 2, luckily, only has one way to factor it, 1 and 2. So I could put 1 here and 2 here. And then the thing is that because the 2 is going to influence the 1 and the 6 and the 2 and the 3, I have multiple ways that I can put the 1 and the 6 in. For instance, I could put the plus 1 and the plus 6 in like this, or I could put it in with the 6 in front. Now, that's just using the 1 and 6, and notice those are two very different factorizations. The other thing I could do is use the 2 and the 3. 1x plus 2, 2x plus 3 for an option, and then another one would be using the 2 and the 3 the other way. So a plus 3 here and a plus 2 here. This is the trial part. We are putting in multiple ways of factoring 2 and factoring 6. The check or the error part comes in terms of multiplying it out to see which one actually achieves the trinomial we started with. So to do a check, remember, we multiply things out. So 1x times 2x is 2x squared. Outside terms would be 6x. Inside terms in this first example would be 2x. Last terms would be 6. When we add up the middle terms, we get 8x, which is not that 13x. So this check didn't work. So this guess didn't work. Trying the next one, 2x squared. Outside terms would be 1x. Inside terms would be 12x. And the last terms would be 6. Notice those middle terms this time add up to 13x, and that's what we wanted. So there's our factorization that works. If you look at the other two guesses, they would also not work. Only one combination is going to work. I'm going to show that by multiplying these out. The outside terms on this third one would be 3x, inside would be 4x, last terms would be 6. Notice that adds up to 7x in the middle. The last example that we tried, 2x squared plus outside would be 2x, inside would be 6x, and last terms would be 6. So the 8x is what we're after. Notice in each of those cases, the only one that worked was a single combination. So when you are factoring with trial and error or any polynomial, there's going to be one choice for that working. So once you find it, you really don't have to check the others, but I wanted to show it here. One thing you may note is that because we had correctly factored the 2 and the 6, our first terms are always going to come out right, and our last terms are going to come out right. So the check that really has to happen in these situations are the middle terms. So one of the things that sometimes people do for doing a quick check is they'll check the outside and the inside calculations and see if those add up to the middle. That's really what you need to check to see if the trial that you're, or the guess that you have works. So trial and error involves some guessing, and so it's a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but The nice thing is that with practice, it becomes really smooth, and you tend to get the right guess either the first or second try instead of doing a lot of guessing. So it actually does become quick with practice.